Exodus chapter 2, conclusion. A story of an old story of a very famous happening historical event. Well, I mean, understandably, those not believing the Bible will not call this historical. They will just call it make up. Story of a people being thrown killed at birth, right? Then, if they survive that, then thrown into a river. Babies, that is, baby boys. I mean, that kind of doesn't happen, does it? You're right. Maybe in the future, when they read about women having their children, unborn babies killed inside their wombs, they will say, no, that can't be true. That can't be historical. I mean, who will do something that evil? You know, it's yeah. So that sure doesn't doesn't then make the story unbelievable. The fact that babies were killed at their birth, or then if not, if they survived, the boys were thrown into River Nile. It sure does not make it unbelievable. I think these kinds of things happens all over the time, all over the place. Kind of stuff happening around us these days. Yeah, I think in the future. Well, yeah, it's when I grew up as a child, I would not have thought that these kinds of things that I've experienced in my life and seen around me is even possible. And now, years later, I see, I know so much more about the world, and what I see is unbelievable. But I've seen it, and therefore I know it. So yes, I see the story and stand as historical. What was Moses trying to tell his people there in the desert? Well, firstly, Moses is not putting himself in a very good light here. He didn't justify his actions of killing the Egyptians. And well, his birth, he makes sure to inform the people that he was not no kind of problem prohibiting him from. He's a pure Levite, that is, and he had no problem with being able to enter the Holy of Holies. I mean, that's going to be anyhow, Aaron's part, but he can get in front of God because he is not invalid, he's clean. But like I said, at the same time, he's not trying to portray himself as this perfect person, because he killed a man, and he premeditated that he killed a man. He looked around before he did it. Okay, so he was no angel. He stood up for the truth, but he did it in the wrong way. At the well, he did it in the right way, but there he did it in the wrong way, for sure. During the teaching, I did mention it. I will just mention it again. It is important that if we stand up for wrongs that we see around us, right? You see refugees being abused. You don't go at night and you abuse the abuser because they're refugees and they can't stand up for themselves, right? That's not going to work. You'll just be put in prison yourself. Or you'll need to flee the country and hope they don't come for you, kind of idea, like Moses did. Yeah, it's not, two wrongs don't make a right. It's not maths. In the first cases, Moses did the wrong thing and he suffered for that. He was exiled. In the second case, he did the right thing when he saw the wrong thing being done, and he got a wife and a son. It's a different kind of a blessing. So yes, you as a Christian, when you see the wrong being done, you need to stand up for the truth, even if it means that you suffer in the process. Now, there are ways and ways how you can stand up for the truth. Okay, in certain case, if you stand up for the truth, it might bring more problems. Then you need to find a better way to stand up for the truth. And otherwise, you need to be wise. Remember the story of how in Russia, when these two boys that I know were mishandled. I mean, I was just basically informed. I stood up for them, and I was informed that if I'm going to do this, then they're going to put me in prison. I need to look out. And you know what? I mean, and then I had a choice. Either I keep on standing up for what is wrong and be put in prison and therefore not being able to help all the other hundreds of them that was the children I was helping at that stage, or keep on quiet and find another way of helping them in this evil. Well, it's an evil choice to make, but I had to make that choice. And yeah, since I'm not in prison in Russia, that means I did not stand up for them. But I found a different way of helping them. And everything worked out in the end. And I could keep on helping others as well. But so there's wisdom necessary. When you see something wrong, a wrong being done, then you need to be wise and you need to do the right thing. You need to be wise in how to stand up. Doing the wrong thing, that's a no-no, right? And just jump up and doing the right thing can be a no-no. At least it's better. An injustice, writing an injustice, but sometimes you just need to. So when you see an injustice being done, stand up for it, but stand up for it in a wise way. In certain cases, it would be to speak up immediately. In other cases, it might be to help the person being wronged, but you can't really stand up. I mean, I know lots of refugees. I can't be here in Thailand or in Malaysia or in other countries. I can't, like, in a certain sense, fight for their rights because they're illegal there. And my fighting for their rights will just get them kicked out of the country and sent maybe back to Myanmar or a place like that, and where they will be killed or drafted into the army, and then where they might then be forced to go and kill their own people. So you can't do that. A refugee being hurt in an accident, you can't go and then fight the boss, because then he will just go to the police and the guy will be kicked out. No, ultimately, what do you need to do? You need to find a hospital and help the guy and trying to get some funds to help the person there in this need and support him, be there for them, right? So yes, there are ways and ways. But the thing is, if you see an injustice, you need to do something about it. Don't be like the majority of Christians. No, it's an injustice, I just look the other way. Like, doing a wrong to right an injustice is a no-no. Looking the other way and not doing anything about injustices, you see, is a big no-no as well. Both of them evil. Both of them evil. And the majority of Christians are like that, unluckily. So you need to, if you're like that, you need to stop being like that, because it's difficult to call yourself a Christian and be just ignoring injustices around you. We are all made in the image of God, and since we're made in the image of God, we need to stand up for an injustice. It's so funny that you'll far easier see a Christian standing up for injustice being done to animals than you see a Christian standing up against an injustice being done to another human being made in the image of God. Christians will stand up for Israel's right to survive, and not step up for the humanitarian crisis the war is creating there in Gaza. And they're just Gazans, they're just animals, right? Like the Jewish leaders try to portray and tell. Sad, but that's true. I've spoken a lot about this. So yes, stand up for injustices. Find in a wise way how to handle it and do something about it. Don't do nothing.